The email notification appeared on my phone at 11:47 a.m. A new scholarship application for the Dean's Merit Award had just been submitted. I opened it out of habit. I reviewed every application as the committee's student representative. Then I saw the name. Ethan Carter. My brother. The same brother whose wedding reception had cost $47,000. The same wedding my parents had funded by emptying the college savings account that was supposed to be mine. The same brother who was now applying for the $40,000 scholarship I had the deciding vote on. I sat back in my chair, the irony so sharp it could draw blood. Because what Ethan didn't know, what my parents didn't know, was that when I'd told them I figured it out after they took my college fund, this is what I'd figured out. Full academic scholarship, work-study position, and 2 years ago, appointment to the Dean's Scholarship Committee as the undergraduate representative. The position that would review Ethan's application in exactly 10 days. What happened next didn't just expose a theft. It revealed who my family really was when their choices finally had consequences. Before I tell you how a scholarship application became a reckoning, and a committee position became the power my parents never thought I'd have, hit like and tell me, have you ever had family steal from you financially, only to ask you for help later without realizing you held all the cards? Because that morning, I learned that sometimes justice doesn't require revenge. Just memory, authority, and the application of consistent standards. My name is Jordan Carter, I'm 24, and I've spent the last 6 years watching my parents prove that love, in our family, is a zero-sum game, where my brother always wins. I grew up in Charlotte, North Carolina. My parents, David and Susan Carter, are comfortable, not wealthy, but stable. Dad's an accountant, Mom works in HR. They're planners, budgeters, the kind of people who talk about financial responsibility over Sunday dinners. When I was 8, they opened a college fund for me, showed me the statements every year, talked about how education was an investment, how they were setting me up for success. By the time I was 17, there was $52,000 in that account. My brother Ethan is 3 years younger, charming, social, the kid who made friends effortlessly while I made honor roll quietly. He was their golden child in ways that felt less about achievement and more about personality. He made them laugh where I made them proud, and laughter always won. When Ethan started dating Melissa his junior year of college, my parents loved her immediately. When he proposed at 22, they cried happy tears. When he asked them to help with the wedding, they said yes without hesitation. I was finishing my senior year at UNC Chapel Hill, preparing to apply to graduate programs, when my parents sat me down at Thanksgiving. "We need to talk about your college fund," Mom started. I remember the exact angle of November light coming through their dining room window, the way my stomach dropped before she even finished the sentence. "Ethan's wedding is going to be expensive," Dad continued, "and we want to give him the best start to his marriage. We've decided to use your fund to help cover costs. But don't worry, you're resourceful, you'll figure something out." $52,000. Gone. Not discussed, decided. "That was my college fund," I said quietly, "for graduate school. You've been saving it for 16 years. And now we're investing it in your brother's future," Mom said, like it made perfect sense. "Family helps family, you understand." I didn't understand, but I also didn't have a choice. The wedding was absurd. Destination venue in the mountains. 200 guests. Open bar. A dress that cost more than my first car. I smiled through it all, congratulated them, watched my parents beam with pride at the event they'd funded with my future. And then I went back to Chapel Hill, and became someone they didn't think I could be without their money. They say what goes around comes around. But sometimes you get to be the one holding the wheel. I applied for every scholarship, every grant, every opportunity. Worked 3 jobs, slept 4 hours a night. My GPA didn't drop. If anything, the anger fueled me to work harder. I won the Chancellor's Scholarship my senior year, got into the graduate program in public policy with full funding. Was appointed to the Dean's Scholarship Committee my second year of grad school, the only undergraduate turned graduate student representative in the program's history. The Dean's Merit Award was the university's most prestigious scholarship, $40,000 annually, renewable for up to 4 years. Given to students with exceptional academic records and demonstrated financial need. The committee consisted of 5 people, 3 faculty members, the dean of students, and me. We reviewed applications twice a year. Every application got a blind review first. No names, just credentials. Then we revealed identities and made final decisions in committee. I took the position seriously. No favoritism, no bias. Every student got a fair evaluation based on merit. It wasn't about power, It was about making sure students who actually needed support got it. Until my brother's name appeared in my application queue. I stared at Ethan's file on my laptop screen, coffee going cold beside me. Ethan Carter, Jr., business major, 3.1 GPA, standard extracurriculars, essay about overcoming financial challenges to pursue education. Financial challenges. I opened the essay, read it slowly, feeling each sentence like a small cut. Growing up, my family always emphasized the value of education, but recently, financial circumstances have made it difficult to continue my studies without assistance. My parents have supported me tremendously, but unexpected expenses have strained their resources. This scholarship would allow me to complete my degree without the burden of excessive debt and help me achieve my goal of entering the business world. Unexpected expenses. Like a $47,000 wedding. The scholarship application required financial documentation, tax returns, FAFSA information, a statement of family contribution. I pulled up Ethan's supporting documents. There it was. My parents' tax return showing a significant withdrawal from a college savings account in the previous year. Labeled educational expenses for reporting purposes, but I knew exactly where that money went. Ethan had listed his parents' annual contribution to his education as $8,000. Not mentioned, the $52,000 lump sum from my college fund that had paid for his wedding, honeymoon, and first year of married housing. Under extenuating circumstances, he'd written that his parents had faced unexpected financial obligations that reduced their ability to support his education. He was claiming financial need based on the consequences of a choice that had directly benefited him. I closed my laptop, walked to the window of my small graduate apartment, looked out at the campus I'd fought to stay on. The committee meeting was in 10 days. I had a decision to make, not about whether Ethan deserved the scholarship based on the criteria. The numbers made that clear enough. But whether I disclosed the conflict of interest and recused myself, or whether I stayed on the committee and trusted that a fair evaluation would speak for itself. I started the meeting by disclosing the conflict. Before we begin, I said to the 4 other committee members, I need to note that one of the applicants is my younger brother, Ethan Carter. I can recuse myself from this application's review if the committee feels it's appropriate. Dean Mitchell looked up from her notes. Do you feel you can evaluate his application objectively? I believe the application should be evaluated on the same criteria we use for every candidate, I said carefully. But I wanted transparency. Professor Reeves, who'd been on the committee for 8 years, nodded. We appreciate that, Jordan. I think as long as you're following our standard rubric, your perspective as someone who knows the context might actually be valuable. But if you're uncomfortable, I'm comfortable evaluating it fairly, I said. We went through applications alphabetically. Blind review first, scores assigned based on GPA, essay quality, extracurriculars, demonstrated need, letters of recommendation. When we reached Ethan's application, still anonymous at this stage, the scores were mediocre. 3.1 GPA, Professor Chen noted. Meets minimum requirements, but not competitive with our other applicants. Essay is generic, Professor Reeves added. Doesn't demonstrate the kind of initiative or resilience we typically look for. Financial need appears moderate, Dean Mitchell said, reviewing the documents. Parents make a comfortable living. Some stated unexpected expenses, but nothing catastrophic. We scored him a 6.2 out of 10. In a pool where we were funding the top 15 applications out of 63, that put him at 28th. Then we unblinded the applications. Ethan Carter, Dean Mitchell read. She glanced at me. Your brother, yes? Your assessment? Professor Reeves asked. I took a breath. This was the moment. I could be silent. Let the scores speak for themselves. Or I could provide context. I chose truth. Ethan's application lists unexpected family financial expenses as the reason for demonstrated need, I said evenly. For full transparency, those expenses included his wedding last year, which cost approximately $47,000. My parents funded it using a college savings account that had been designated for my graduate education. The room went silent. I worked 3 jobs to stay in school after that fund was taken. Ethan is claiming financial hardship based on the consequences of a choice that directly benefited him and was funded by money originally saved for my education. I paused. That said, technically his current financial need is real, regardless of how it was created. I wanted you to have complete information to make your evaluation. Dean Mitchell set down her pen slowly. Let me make sure I understand. Your parents took your college fund and spent it on his wedding, and now he's applying for scholarship money claiming financial hardship? That's correct. Professor Chen leaned back. That's That's not the kind of financial hardship this scholarship is designed to address. The Dean's Merit Award is for students facing genuine barriers to education, Professor Reeves said, his voice hardening. Not for students experiencing consequences of luxury expenses funded by siblings' stolen college money. I want to be clear, I said. I'm not advocating for denial based on personal history. I'm providing context for the financial picture he's presented. The context matters, Dean Mitchell said firmly. This scholarship has limited funds. We're here to identify students who've demonstrated resilience in the face of genuine hardship and who are using education to overcome barriers. She looked at Ethan's application again. A student whose parents spent $47,000 on his wedding doesn't meet that criteria, regardless of current cash flow. That's a family that made a choice to prioritize a luxury event. The existence of that choice indicates resources that our truly needy students don't have. The vote was unanimous. Ethan's application was denied. Jordan, Dean Mitchell said as we gathered materials, I'm sorry you experienced that financial betrayal from your family. And I want you to know, the way you handled this, with transparency and fairness, that's exactly why you're on this committee. I nodded, not trusting my voice. That evening, I sent a brief email to my parents. I thought you should know that Ethan applied for the Dean's Merit Scholarship. As the student representative on the selection committee, I disclosed the conflict of interest and provided full transparency about the financial circumstances, including the source of the 9 suspected expenses listed in his application. The committee voted to deny the scholarship based on their assessment that the financial hardship didn't meet the criteria for the award. Decisions will be sent to applicants next week. I hit send and turned off my phone. My mother called 17 times before I blocked the number. My father sent emails ranging from disbelief to anger to attempted guilt. How could you sabotage your own brother? I responded once. I didn't sabotage anything. I disclosed the conflict and provided factual information the committee was entitled to know. The decision was made by 5 people based on standard criteria. Ethan's financial hardship stemmed from mom and dad spending $47,000 on his wedding, using money saved for my education. The committee determined that didn't constitute the kind of barrier this scholarship addresses. If you have concerns about the decision, you can appeal to the Dean of Students. They didn't appeal. They knew what an appeal would reveal. Ethan sent one message. I didn't know they took your college money for the wedding. I thought they'd saved separately. I'm sorry. I almost believed him. Almost. 3 months later, my parents tried to reconcile. Asked me to Thanksgiving. Said we needed to move past this as a family. I declined. Sent a polite message explaining that I needed space from people who'd stolen from me and then been angry when their choices had consequences. I defended my master's thesis in April. Graduated with honors. Got job offers from 3 policy think tanks and accepted a position in D.C. The Dean's Merit Scholarship funded 2 brilliant students that year, a first-generation college student studying engineering, and a single mother returning to school for her nursing degree. I watched them walk at graduation, knowing they'd gotten opportunities meant for students exactly like them. Ethan graduated the following year, paid for his final year with student loans. He works in sales now, doing fine, married, living the life my parents helped him build with my money. I don't regret how I handled the committee. I provided transparency. Followed procedure, let the criteria speak for themselves. That's not revenge, that's integrity. If this story resonated, drop a comment. Where are you listening from, and have you ever had family steal from you financially, only to face them later in a position of authority? This is Calm Verdict Stories. I'm Jordan, and this is what happens when the family member you robbed ends up holding the keys to what you need next. To everyone whose college fund became someone else's wedding, whose sacrifice funded someone else's dream, you don't owe them the opportunities you had to fight for. Fairness isn't cruelty. It's just fairness, finally applied.